they've got nothing right now.
What else is their money on?
They've got a lot of roads.
It's a bunch of gravel.
They got a lot of roads that needed attention, and they actually did something. They did a good job. They've got a lot of roads.
So we'll see if they do that, but, you know, that becomes, you know, every landowner
Is that where they put that new culvert in?
essentially gonna double their tax rate on the township portion, so.
Well, they wouldn't need to raise it 18, they could raise it 4, 8, or 12.
Yeah, but my point is, if you're gonna do this,
Well, right.
do it at 18, and then if you don't need it after 2 years, take it off, but don't go halfway, and then it's not enough. And
Well, the three guys that are on the board there, they're very forward thinking. They know they need to keep this up, and they're actually doing a pretty good job with it. And they've had some shoulders pulled, and they've done a very good thing. But one guy's gonna be moving to town sometime in the near future. And there's one gentleman that's been on there for a long time, and he's waiting for that one to move to town, because he's gonna get back on the board. I found out with the phone out here. And,
probably the same gentleman who came and visited me. So,
it's just interesting, very interesting. But they have improved those roads tremendously, I will say that.
Well, it's not always the number of roads everybody has, because the more roads you have, you should get more funding.
I
Do.
know.
But that particular part of the county gets a lot of traffic
From the west.
from the west.
And there's three considerable good-sized farmers in there that haul a lot of grain across those roads. I will say this, I see that this winter, they're moving a lot of grain that's out on the farm there. They're moving it to town this time of year, which is a nice thing, rather than waiting till whenever. And I will say this for them, when they're loaded, they're not running as fast as they used to. That I will say for them. I've noticed that when they go by the place, and that's a good thing. To see that. That means that somebody's trying. And that's basically what we've got to hope for. Doesn't always work that way, but
Weight and then speed direction.
right.
They should be complimented on that, because everybody's really quick to complain to somebody, but
I've been watching
compliments
that.
come real short.
But I've also watched, there's one driveway where there's always soybeans or corn on the road as they make the corner. Now, I don't know, there must be a hole in that hopper somewhere or something.
They roll on top.
The tarp didn't
So-
get rolled yet before they got around the corner.
I got one more thing, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, but I get really disgusted when we go like city county meeting and we brought up the fact that we're doing this because we're gonna have trouble maintaining everything we have. And you got a guy like down in Emmons County saying, what they gotta do like we do. Charge these windmills and these battery storage house, we don't have that stuff. We can't.
well, that's a good problem to have, because my experience over the course of my professional life has been, everybody's good with stuff as long as somebody else pays for it.
Yeah.
And if they're willing to pay for it, good for Emmons County, because they got all kinds of that kind of stuff going on down there. Good for them.
We can't even get a little
That's not
section of
that's not a solution for us here, because
Oh, what do you think? This is 24 on my list, and some of these are really goofy ideas, so bear with me. Of hiring a recruiter to attract some of this stuff into the county. You know, JDA in theory is that, but they don't do that. They don't promote and recruit. A company has to come to them, and then in turn, they'll might help them out.
Well, in a way though, and this was 4, 5 years, it was before Enderlin got the data center,
Ellendale?
or Ellendale, yeah. Paul Gunderson was working heavy on getting that. They were considering this, except we had to go on natural gas. And that hurt us at that time. At one point, I thought maybe we were gonna get something like that. So he was, economic development or whatever, and he had that working for us, but
Did Neil or someone mention that he came up with data centers before they were considered legit? They were kind of voodoo out there, and City of Harvey
Now I read
just
in the paper this morning that
didn't give them the time of day.
there's a lot of offshoots with this, the fiber that's needed, like the fiber optics, what we have in North Dakota, isn't good enough for that, so there's gonna be a lot of.
Oh my.
Well, that's what, in a 6 county meeting, there's a big cable coming into
To Linton.
that area
From Los Angeles.
from Los
It's
Angeles,
all the way across.
which is more revenue.
And they're getting tax money for that doggone thing coming across the
Permit.
permits. But anyway, that's my point is, and I like your idea, maybe we need to get out and say, hey, look at Wells County.
I know.
But if like that windmill goes down, people are gonna say, well, there's no chance of putting anything in there.
I remember years ago, my brother was working in Bismarck, at the Purina store in Bismarck. He got together with Purina down there, and they told the party it would be a very, very good spot because of the location, because it's, you know, so far from everywhere else. And of course, it's still a feed store to this day. There's not very many cattle around or anything or whatever, but I mean, that was a good location. Now, look at what economic development's done in Harvey though. We got a set of blue buildings on the west side of Harvey that aren't really being used. We got a plant north of Harvey that used to be the butcher plant, that went haywire. And now the flour mill. It's sad to say stuff like that, but you gotta, that's that little bit of reality there.
So the question is, how do we keep that stuff?
It's a good question.
I mean, those are starts.
Yeah.
You gotta maintain them too.
Well, there's risks.
You know, are they selling it? Are anybody buying it? Flour plant? Have you heard
I've
that?
heard it's for sale. They want a large amount of money for it.
Oh, they'll have to say,
Oh, I'm sure.
somebody will have to buy that for a penny on a dollar to make it work.
Gotta work out from the start.
Yep.
But yeah, there has been things tried.
It's just sad to drive by every day, you drive by those blue buildings there.
Not
They said there's nothing happening. I don't know who was responsible for letting that go or not go.
Guy from Fargo owns it, it's a big red.
So,
He pays taxes on it.
right,
That's about all he does now.
but nobody had say where it was gonna go when it got sold. I mean, and when it's an economic development, isn't there rules when you sell them? I don't know.
Well, they didn't have any jurisdiction over it anymore.
You can
No.
sell anything, it's free enterprise.
So basically, if you get economic development, you get a bunch of buildings up and kind of yank the chain.
Well,
and-
that's what happened with Fargo,
Yeah.
that's his name, he
Yeah.
got a whole bunch of it. But the place stayed there.
Right.
Anyway, that was my point,
Yeah,
what can we do to attract something, you know? Our amount of people is way down. Our other sources of revenue are non-existent. What do we do?
Like we said in the zoning board, you don't need a bunch of them. You need one data storage center, one
Back to
battery storage center, one data center. You don't need a bunch of them. Or a solar farm. And you think some of these things are voodoo, but, okay, we'll be skeptical about all this as 10,000 other counties in the United States get them. And we sit here saying,
might happen, never know.
that's right.
Yeah.
So,
No.
I mean, I have that under revenue assessment. Here's the other thing I have is within zoning to increase fees, and we've done some of that, and that's kind of out of your area, what Boone and I, what Dan are in there. And Jana texted me just the other day, she got a check for $2,000. What was that for?
It's for a gravel pit development, somebody's.
Okay.
For
Is that the one that's out of the Boone?
I don't know, that's, yeah. So we've raised some of those fees, which will help. Do you know, in the zoning bylaws, you need a permit for any time you build something? If you put a steel band up on your farm, you're supposed to have a building permit. That's not done. Because, by the way, you'll say, I'm picking up Boone now. it's not ice fishing, so it's a little different. You'll say, well, it's tax exempt anyway, so I shouldn't need a permit for it. So it's not enforced over the years, but should it be?
Well, most townships have that, don't they?
No.
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 I-
Besides 4 townships, they're signed on with the county. 4 townships have their own, or 5, how many?
It's probably 6.
6. The other 33 do what the county does.
But I don't think a lot of that stuff's enforced. If you're not.
No, it's not.
You're not building it, hardly, probably is no permit for it in Wells County, maybe.
The only thing with the zoning is if they bring it to us and the distances from the roads, we dealt with some of that. Like Elvershire up there, we dealt with that in the,
That was the exception to the rule.
Right.
Times people built something and never, okay, where I'm going with this was, I don't know if it was in the Hartley Herald, or it was some paper that a county, and not Wells, put a big ad in saying, if you're gonna build something, they're enforcing their zoning, in other words. If you're gonna build something, you need a permit.
and then
Who had that in? Oh,
that guy up,
Sheridan or McHenry, I think, but
the guy up on the northeast part of the county, his dad's gone now. He was building a bin site. And Richard Linney was concerned of how far away from the road. Well, then I talked to him here a while back and he went another extra 50 feet away from the roads for the distance, and putting buildings or the bins or the dryer.
But that's why people get a permit. They come
Right.
to the zoning board and get a permit to see that this is done correctly.
Right. But he did go an extra 50 feet compared to our policy because we had talked about that in the zoning board.
But you never got a permit.
Probably not.
I know. And there's a fee associated with this permit because
Right.
there's work involved. I'm giving you guys ways of increasing revenue. It may not be a lot, but it's,
That's
what
it.
do you think?
Can't imagine how much more busier that would make that office go too. There's a lot of stuff being built in the county always.
and whose job is it to enforce it and to inspect it? Is that the zoning board or?
Between,
I would imagine, right?
and how far would you go? A little shed?
I'd have to read.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a lot.
You have to get more specs on it.
I'm sure in other states and other counties, where the contractor has to have the bidder, or has to have the permit, he can't build.
Correct.
In a big city.
Well, even in Harvard, you can't build or.
You can't build anything in Harvard.
Like you say, that's how that would get enforced.
Even decks or fences, you have to have a permit, right?
You what?
Decks or fences.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
you're supposed to.
Yeah, Rorik runs around town here and makes sure people are supposed to get permits.
All right.
Whatever.
But you can see where they have to have that, otherwise
Oh, yeah.
somebody would go right up in somebody's property. Okay, anything else, guys?
Well, there's one other item on the agenda, that we need to cover here, and that is, manager for Festival Hall and KTL, and that needs to formally be done here.
You're willing to do that?
I'm recommending, you name me to do that, because somebody's gotta do it. Hey.
You're gonna volunteer anyway.
You just saved $6,000 right there.
Oh, done, yeah, we're all,
I'll make a motion.
motion made by Stan to appoint Dan as the festival hall manager. Second by Boone, any other discussion on it? Any discussion, if not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carried.
All right, so be prepared to hear screaming from across the street, because there's a lot of unused space over there that's poorly used. And some of it's gonna get taken. Thank you for, okay, this also came, it's from Vic Lengths, if you want to pass that around.
Mike, give me an instance of what could be moved in there.
When you, on the west side, you've got Tammy's office, then you've got 2 other offices. I've never seen anybody in my 4.5+ years here in either of those offices. Yet one's for the water board and one is for, what's the other one for?
The water board has their map
They might actually have them both.
Yeah.
They've never held a meeting in there.
Yeah, rent them out.
Okay, I need a place to put election equipment, for Christ's sake. It's downstairs in this building.
It needs to get out of that moisture.
It needs to get out of downstairs, and there's not enough room anyplace else. other than
Absolutely.
Taking over some space over there, so. I'm not gonna do it today, but
Let them squeal.
it
It's gonna have
needs,
to be moved.
that is underutilized space for.
That equipment needs to be out of the
Well,
moisture,
who-
because downstairs.
If no one uses it, who will complain about it? Water board?
Water board won't, because they never go in there, but Tammy will.
So I wasn't good.
Snooze.
So anyway, we didn't solve everything today by any means, but we did make some progress there.
Well, I had a couple more in it. Let's have an auction and sell the excess equipment. Good lord.
Benny's been asking me that.
Who?
Benny. Steelware.
What?
Did Wells County ever figure out what they want to sell? I said, no, we'll get it checked out.
It's revenue, I mean, it's every little bit counts.
Why did the sheriff's department decide what to do?
We're gonna have to decide that for them.
Huh?
We're gonna have to decide that for them.
You gotta go through all of it, you gotta sort out what's,
Well, right,
yeah.
What kind of equipment are you talking about?
excess that we don't have. We've been talking about this for 5 years. There's all kinds of stuff that's sitting in some shop someplace for 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, Brent's got a lot of junk that we could sell, Chris with Bremen Drainage, but sell that over,
Right.
No, I understand.
Well, it ain't worth much.
It's not worth it.
It's worth 200 or 300.
Exactly. Right.
No, I agree with that.
He's gonna be having auctions here again. He's got 5 containers with all kinds of stuff in them. And I don't know when he's gonna start auctioning that, but he's gonna keep having auctions.
Who's he?
Benny, Steelwire.
He has 20-foot and 40-foot containers if we need any more.
No, but those are full of stuff to sell, those 5 containers that are there. And so he's
But
gonna have,
that's just something that,
yeah,
you know, that should get done because it's not.
Yeah, let's put that on the agenda, and let's talk to the guys that got the junk, and give us the list of stuff, if we have to haul it over to
Or if
there,
it's
wherever we'll
scheduled,
do it.
you got a trailer to do it.
Here's one other wild idea. I would propose, we've been trying to keep everybody happy here, the blade operators to operate anytime they want. As long as they put their 40 hours in. I don't care if they go out there on Sunday afternoon. Wouldn't they like that?
especially with weather. The roads are wet, they cut nice.
Well, here's an example. I have a dentist appointment at 9 o'clock and it's set for, okay? So I'm gonna take a half a day, a sick day to go to the dentist. And it's perfect blading conditions. A conscientious person might go to the dentist, start work at 10 or 11 and work and blade longer that day. Now, I think there's a little bit of that done,
There's some.
but I think they'd like that. And what's the downside?
Be a lot more efficient.
And if they had, but the only problem, I mean, when Mel used to do that there, he tried to have at least 2 of them out there in case they had trouble. I think.
Well, it's not gonna be drastic. They're
No.
gonna be blading at night or.
Right.
And I would tend to concur with this. My only thought on this is, what about their role in their job that isn't blading? So in other words, okay, I can tell you with great certainty, our blades have almost been non-operational for the last 30 days.
Right.
Okay, so what are they doing now and how would they do that if presumably they don't have somebody else to work with?
Well, if they're doing things together as a group, Brent's the boss. I mean, then he tells them, I'm just talking about when they're independently graded. I mean, I'm
Pretty much
telling them to
during
go
the
to work at 7 and quit at 5. You know what I mean?
So I really agree with that, but are you gonna have somebody who goes and puts time in because there is nothing? In other words, that part of their job isn't happening right now. And I've got no project that but I can't.
Don't you
really
think-
agree on it. I don't know.
Don't you think there's some of that being done right now?
Yes, but, so my question would be, you guys, this is what you get paid to supervise, what have they been doing this Christmas? And don't look at me for an answer, because I don't have one, I'm not following.
And if you listen to Brent, they'll say, oh man, we've been busy.
Well, I do know this,
They hauled some gravel,
yes,
and they did some fixing on them trucks, I do know that.
they fixed on that
They've
one.
been working in the shop.
Yeah, sure,
But they're getting done, I don't.
but that's what the public's gonna wanna know.
Yeah.
Okay, what,
Maintenance.
Well, that's legitimate.
I think what you're saying, Stan, is basically during the summer blading season.
When they're independently in the blade.
Yeah, right.
Besides that, Brent's the boss as far as telling them what to do or where to do, or I don't think they're all independently doing stuff on their own.
But as far as what they're doing, you gotta trust that they're working, you can't micromanage either.
And here's the other thing, because Doug Klein, who works for the DOT, it's as boring as heck.
Yeah.
We don't do much of anything. You can only change oil, do this, do that, do that. He'll admit there's nothing to do. Now, that's a good thing, because you want a snowstorm every day, so people are out there blading.
Exactly, you got to lay off, and you got a big snowstorm tomorrow, and they're.
I'm not gonna be critical if Brett comes into our next meeting and said, you know, guys, we're kind of running out of things to do.
Yeah.
That's fine. You know, that's just the nature of the job. When there's no snow to push this time of year, there ain't a lot to do. Now, I get the whole maintenance thing and catching up, especially in the shop, because they don't have extra guys there. There's stuff to do. There's gravel to haul. I get that. Sorry. It's okay for them to not be busy if they run out of things to do.
Exactly.
And the best thing that would come out of that is working your way around rain in the summertime.
Right.
Right?
I know, that's always a big issue.
Right.
Yeah, they're working on day it rains, and the day they should be blading is the day they got off.
Right. Because I don't believe, you know, Brent laid into me here last, thinking that something about, like, if I made them, if.
I remember that, where you're going.
If it rained on Thursday, that you could run, everybody's got plans for a 3-day weekend. No, they don't. Not everybody. And if they do, that's fine. They're all smart people. They can manage all that. But you're right, I get troubles with.
So Dan, you talk about who is the president of the BDL?
I don't know that there was one technically.
No, it's a festival hall,
Janelle
you're
did
talking
festival
about.
hall.
It says
Oh.
festival hall and BDL building manager.
And obviously the space in the deck belongs to social services, everything else is Wells County. I mean, it's all Wells County, but Wells County has the rest of that building that's not social services. Now, I don't think there technically was a manager.
I'm just curious.
Janelle said, I'm only dealt with festival hall.
Right.
So,
That's a good thing to get that under
Oh, yeah.
this cap. You got any more, Stan?
You've heard enough, haven't you?
Yeah, just about.
The other 25, I'll leave for next. No, I mean, a lot of them we talked about, even at the
From the
last
beginning on, we talked about.
last meeting. There's just a few other questions. The next meeting is, I'd like to know along roads, do we get any revenue from the DOT for overweight trucks? I mean, yeah, we talked to the Devil's Lake guys and they were around, they were stopping trucks last year with road restrictions. Do they get any money for that? Do they ever have any fines? Or,
most of the fines that are given out in this county, even by our local law enforcement, goes to the state of North Dakota, most of it doesn't stay here.
Is that really?
I know there's one guy that got picked up right off the Hampton, but I don't know what.
well, if it's on a state, no, it's on a state highway, the state gets it. If it's on a county highway, the county's supposed to get it.
Every month in
Are they?
your minutes.
Do you know that for sure?
In your minutes, you'll see the revenue for
Yeah.
each of the departments. You'll see the sheriff's department revenue, clerk court's revenue, recorder's revenue, et cetera. And when I get the clerk first report, which is all those assessed fines. and
Yeah.
things. From what is on their sheet and what stays in Wells County is about, and I'm just estimating here, maybe $1 or $2 to $20 stays here. The rest of it goes.
It's a business.
Well, why in the heck were we even thinking about hiring?
Well, if they're all picked up on state highways, if they're all picked up on state highways, then it goes to the state. But if they're picked up on county highways, 3-4 years ago, it came to the county. Now, the rules might change.
And your victory in catching people overweight is saving you the millions of dollars it costs to fix those roads, not necessarily the fine that you're gonna get.
Where the money
The fine ain't gonna cover any road fixes.
No, it's a raindrop in the ocean.
But,
But it's to put the deterrent out there.
and fines do all kinds of different things. It goes to those agencies that help, victims of domestic violence and different, so we send some money to Jamestown now, we send it to Devil Lake for, people who are victims and so on and so forth, but yeah, most of that money doesn't stay here.
So overweight fines, that's a different category. I don't believe that goes to all those places.
And it may or may not,
It would be a good one to ask them.
we really don't get a lot of exposure to that, so I was won't know for sure, but.
Well, it's either county.
Because some of these fines are, a fine for a overloaded truck at 110,000 on a county, it's 10 grand. I mean, it's lots. So,
I know,
we're talking chunk change here.
I know, but I don't think it was 10 grand, it was,
Wow,
I mean,
that's
right.
extreme.
I know.
It can be 10 grand.
Right,
Depends on how much the road we got.
right.
It isn't like speeding tickets where, oh boy, I really got dinged here. I got a $40 fine instead of a $20 fine. And that's why speeding is hard to enforce, My kid once said, as long as I don't get points, my time's more valuable speeding than it is driving the speed limit. You got a 50 mile commute to work.
Everybody could drive 50 miles an hour for 2 weeks and look at the difference in our rates. In the big scheme of things, it would.
Go to Minnesota, you'll find out about rules.
Oh, what it costs, speed there.
No, you just follow something that's going faster than you.
Yeah, well, that's,
It's 55 over there on a lot of the regular roads. I
yes.
found that out.
Well, we got some like that here too. Well, anyway, you know what, it was just like I thought, we identified a whole bunch of problems, and we don't have a lot of solutions.
Well, the last one I have is we said start negotiating engineering fees. That's big money. And we always say, oh, yeah, that's what it costs. Oh,
Each project is a big one.
It's a
because
percentage.
who was it? One or the other even said, it's 10, I asked one time, what's this cost? Well, 10% for a negotiated fee. What's that mean, 5%? Or,
They could bid it,
well, that's the other thing.
They can what?
bid it out, so I guess we.
That's the thing that always perplexed me. You got a project, you got these 10 engineering firms, or not, 10 companies that are beating their head against the wall to try to get the lowest bid, but engineering fees just take a percentage. They don't have to bid anything. I don't get that. Alright, so why not promise to be done?
So to think about when we're doing it, bids,
Right. Let's hope we get some.
that we don't forget.
Get some projects for
Right.
Okay, anything else?
I'll just say one thing before we leave, since we're all here. Thought about it a lot, and I won't be running this next year, so.
Right.
What?
My life is busy, and I have a feeling it's just gonna get busier here in the next year or two, so I gotta make some decisions on which way I wanna go, so. I've
Sorry
enjoyed
to
it.
hear that, you did a good job.
I've enjoyed it and learned a lot, so, I guess. I've been in contact with the guy possibly interested, so.
So that's good, that's what we might.
That's your job to recruit at least a half a dozen
Which I need some
candidates.
help, you guys have been looking for somebody for mine.
Gonna keep visiting with him, hopefully get talked into it to run that lease.
When is the deadline for that? April?
Comes up in early April.
Right?
This spring, he's gotta have a sheet with how many signatures?
40, I think, right?
Depends on what your district is.
Yeah, and that part doesn't matter, you're all the same.
Oh, is it?
Is it 40?
It's not very many.
It's, I've got 3 different numbers in my head, because the sheriff is different than the commissioner, which is different than the
Thing is,
soil conservation district. I got it right now.
Yeah, it's not very many.
Whatever I sent you in the text is
I
what
think
it
it
was,
was
40, I believe it's 40. So, I told him to bring a sheet today, he could probably get signatures today, but I guess he doesn't need one now.
I saw that. Yeah, that's too bad, Brian, you were a good member here.
Well, definitely learned a lot.
And your, the demographic that you represent is sorely lacking in all levels.
When you retire in 20 years and you still live here, you can come back,
Yeah.
or 30 years.
Well, no, the demographic part is gonna be old then, like the rest of us, we need a young guy or 2 on here.
Dude, this thing's gonna change quite a bit, we're changing 2 of them.
Hopefully for the better.
Yeah.
That's probably
Well, I could hope that, but it might be tough.
good. Are you going from house to house now, trying to find somebody, that's what you're doing?
I haven't looked yet. Pretty limited on the north side of town.
That's all I had, I guess.
You need a motion to adjourn, I suppose.
You can just adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.
Well,
Some of these are, we're gonna bring up at the next meeting, right?
this will be back on your agenda. Brian, did you want me to bring your statement of interest with you today?